What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. It's Dean78904. If you want to get all technical right now, it's not 2 hours. Not 2 hours of MLB DFS conversation. We're starting at 6 o'clock. Why? Because, well, the slate is later. This is why you turn on those notifications. This is why you subscribe, so you're not sitting there for an hour waiting for the show to start. Some of y'all probably been camped out since 5 o'clock on the East Coast. That's what time we standard typically would start. But 7:40 first picks tonight. Therefore, we're getting bumped back a little bit to 6 o'clock here. Hand it off to crunch time. 7 o'clock, you got Kevin Roth. I'm sure Roth will have a lot to say about his Dallas Mavericks. Day Potts, Cheeseisgood. TastefulTides, Tim as well. Somebody that has a lot to say about basketball. Leader of the Juggalos, Kid Yahoo, Kirkwood, Kirk Dees. Fresh off going to the game last night, Boston versus Dallas. What's up, Kirkwood? How are things?
Things are great. It was a good game. Boston played about as poorly as they could play, and they still were never kind of in doubt in the second half. So, I think I made some money, which was good. I had a lot of fun, which was good, and my Celtics are taking care of business. So that's the thing, right? Like, so the Celtics are so deep that, like, last night was the holiday game. You know what I mean? It's like a luxury that they have someone that can step up when, like, Tatum can't shoot. Tatum's taking a lot of flack in the media, but he had 12 assists. He had some big rebounds, some big defensive plays. Like, he was getting everybody easy looks. So that's the nice thing about the Celtics. So yeah, we'll see how. I can't believe they're underdog. It's like, for anyone,
2 points. That's the last I saw.
I don't want to get too cocky, but this is like a generational betting opportunity for game 3 and 4. Unless you really think that home court is worth that much. But that's also potentially if Porzingis is dinged up and held up. But
yeah, he's saying he's fine, but I'm not sure if that's true or not. They're just saying that.
I couldn't tell when I was there. Because I just couldn't tell. So hope for the best.
You said you had a lot of fun at the game. You've been threatening to streak multiple times, mostly at Fenway.
You can't pull it out. You can't pull it. You can't do it in the Garden. No way.
You could do it at Fenway, but you can't do it at the Garden.
It's different. You're outside. You get a huge field to work with. You know what I mean? Like, you can delay. You can outrun some of them. You know what I mean? You got a lot of different escape opportunities.
Sure.
You're just gonna it's tough to even get on the court in like the Garden. Like I love that guy, the Pelicans, the guy that whatever went around, that video that kept going around, that there was one guy who went to he dressed up in the full warm-up suit, and he got on the court and was just jacking shots, and then they were like, hey, wait a minute, who is this guy?
There was a Klay Thompson guy as well too. I'm not sure if you saw that video. A Klay Thompson doppelganger. Looked very much like him, who got away with it security-wise. I saw in chat, Derek was asking if Dylan, is he all hopped up on donuts again today? We can hear a child in the background.
He's hopped up. He's getting cranky. He's getting a little wild. He's been stealing the measuring cups, and he got a new drawer that he's been taking everything out and just hucking on one.
Also going to bring in Keith Eister. What's up, Keith? How was your weekend? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Nice little later short slate here on a Monday. Izzy in chat asked if you're the one that hacked Buster Olney's account. I don't know if you saw that or not, but there's some stuff flying around on Twitter from Buster's account right now.
I did not, but he's like the one guy. Like, there's certain people, it's like, well, no, you weren't hacked. That's just you. You get a little thirsty. I believe Buster Olney was hacked. Like, I believe he was actually hacked. So a lot of that's like the de facto excuse. I kind of believe it. So I only saw a couple of the tweets, but yeah, it was pretty goofy for sure. I cannot confirm or deny, but I'll deny. It definitely was not me. There you go. There's a tweet. The Mets are finalizing a deal that will send Francisco Lindor to the Athletics. Sources tell ESPN. So yeah. Hey, you never know. But like, not the A's, obviously, but some trades are coming up soon enough. Vladdy's going to get traded maybe to the Cubs. Is that going to happen, Keith? I've heard those rumors out there. You're a Cub fan. Are you in on this?
I don't know that they need to be pushing all in. From talking from a Cubs fan perspective at this point, and I know Vladdy's really young. It's just that it's discouraging what's going on with the ground ball stuff with Vladdy. So it's going to take massive prospect capital to acquire him. I don't know if I'm on board with that. I mean, I wouldn't hate it just because he's young and it's a long-term piece. But this team is not ready to compete with like the Dodgers. The Braves are banged up, so maybe they see an opening there. I think they wait 1 year before they push their chips in.
Wind's blowing out 30 miles per hour to dead center, and Vladdy's just like hammering ground balls to the shortstop. Like that won't be tilting at all, I'm sure. I think it's a pretty good chance, though, he moves. Like just the way Toronto is, they're in a weird predicament where their guys are kind of falling back, and the team is falling back, and I don't know if they're going to commit to him long term. It's going to be an interesting conversation. We'll talk about another day. This is DFS, so I care about today and today only, boys. 6-gamer. Oh, it's also a movie Monday. Let me go ahead and throw there for movie Monday. The first clue for movie Monday is you guys know how this works, right? Everybody knows how this works, but if you don't, just in case, you give the answers in the Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord live stream chat channel. You can only answer once per clue. We're gonna drop a clue every 5, 10, 15 minutes, depending on how it goes. Flow the conversation. The very first word today for our movie Monday is timing. Timing is the first word.
Brokeback Mountain.
You ruined the game, Kirkwood. Now what do we do? You bink it, and what do we do? Then we just stare at each other for the next 55 minutes?
You wouldn't have the guts to make that the movie.
I wouldn't have the guts. What you're saying? I'm gutless like the Padres? Is that what you're saying? You're suggesting I'm like
not saying people, but people are saying. I'm not saying, but people are saying.
People are saying. So timing is the very first clue. Another clue coming in about 10 minutes or so. It's a 6-gamer, right? It's a short slate with really, really super obvious. Hey, this is the pitcher you're supposed to play. Hitting not so obvious, but pitching is pretty clear. I'm going to go to Keith first. Keith, you're running the standard 40 lineups today?
Yep, that's correct.
What is the approach? I'm not sure if you were on the survey today or not, but like they always ask in the expert survey, like, what are you doing today to be different? You're playing Dylan Cease like everybody else is playing Dylan Cease. You're gonna play two of Cease, Gilbert, and maybe Paddock or Fetty. Like that's pretty clear. Now, of course, goofy things happen, yada yada, variants. But yeah, how are you handling your approach to tonight's slate? I think it's much easier to be different when it comes to the bats than it comes to the arms. But you tell me.
Yeah, I mean it's very obvious who the best two pitchers are on the slate. There's two aces in really good matchups. Cease gets Oakland, Gilbert gets the White Sox. It's really hard to fade them, but it's also a 6-game MLB slate. Insane levels of ownership, approaching 60% on Cease, on DK, approaching 50% on Gilbert. Like, it's just too hard to win when you play that kind of chalk. So at the very least, I would fade one of them. I think I'm fading both of them today. Not fading them entirely, but I'll be underweight on Cease and Gilbert. I will make a rule where I don't play them together in any single lineup that I make. And then I will also be at least half the field on Chris Paddock as well. He also gets a great matchup against Colorado, but I don't like he's got a couple strikeout games this year and in his career, but I don't really think that Chris Paddock can beat me as often as he's going to be owned. So I'm looking further down the pitcher list, trying to get underweight on those three. I agree the offense is probably way more spread out today. I think Minnesota looks pretty chalky. Toronto might get a little bit chalky, but that team total with Minnesota and their pricing, it makes it way too easy to just go Cease, Gilbert, and a full Minnesota stack. It is way too easy. Everybody's doing that. So I'm trying to find a way to get off of that, and I'm probably doing it on both sides. Houston is a stack that I'm really interested in. Obviously, no Kyle Tucker hurts that lineup. Bregman is banged up as well, so we got to keep an eye on that. But I have some interest in Houston, even though they're getting a big ballpark downgrade.
All right. I'm really curious to hear the pitchers you're going to be elevating because you can't just say, I'm not going to play those two chalk guys. Now you got to play guys. You got to find two that you're actually going to start.
I'm going to play Seth Lugo and Joey Estes. Dakota Hudson.
I'm curious to see. And you're trying to win. You're not trying to mid-cash, so I get it. We'll have that conversation. Kirk, you're making one main lineup typically? Is that what we're doing tonight?
Yep. I'm team Pep, play the best plays on this slate, except for bat. Like bats, that's where I'll do it. On pitcher, I just don't see a reason to get out. I mean, there's 6 viable pitchers options in my opinion. There's Cease, Gilbert, Paddock, Fetty, Arrighetti, Rodon. You could also potentially make a case for Berrios. I can't see Seth Lugo having any relevance tonight. I can't see Colin Ray doing anything. I can't see Kyle Harrison, Joey Estes. I just don't see Dakota Hudson. I think that you should choose from that 6, and if you wanted the more different, you're going to be more different with Rodon, Arrighetti, Fede than you are Paddock, Gilbert, Cease. But I mean, if there's such obvious good plays, Cease and Gilbert, that I'm going to have a hard time getting off of them.
I'm being told here in chat from producer Steve that is Aaron Judge not in the lineup today?
Aaron Judge's projection was just removed from lineup HQ. So
I don't see the official lineup on Twitter just yet or anywhere posted, but that's interesting. I don't know what. Maybe they're just giving him a day. I'm not really sure, but I mean, sure, it'll make things a little bit easier for Lugo.
I mean, they had an ESPN game last night. Go on the road to KC. It's possible. I could see this.
Where he hit his 23rd homer of the season? Is that what it is? I think he's at 23. Is that about right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of home runs. Yeah, we'll see. And also, we don't know about Soto either, so we should be getting that lineup in momentarily, I would imagine, and we'll keep you guys updated on it. I guess that would change things if both Soto and Judge are out. Well, there you go. Tim is telling us that Judge is out and Soto is in.
It just makes it easier to play the Yankees.
Yeah.
And it's pretty tough to fit them both.
Judge also lurking pinch hit stuff. If like the situation matters later on in the game, your cheapie might get the hook, but that you take that risk, obviously. Yeah, I don't see the lineup anywhere. Just it's going to be dropping momentarily. But Tim knows the guy. Somebody stuck it to Tim, and he's telling us. I trust that Tim knows he's on top of it. Judge out, Soto in. Okay.
Did anyone check in on my boy Bobby Gomes last night? He felt like, seemed like he was.
I hung out with him over the weekend for Sirius.
He was going through something last night. It seemed like I don't know. Watching the Celtics game, I just wanted to make sure he was okay.
All I can tell you is that we hung out on Sirius a couple hours, talked a little bit of Celtics. I think he's at the stage of all the stages of grief. I think he's closing.
Yeah, he was sewn up. This championship's going to have an asterisk. You should just look at his timeline. Just go on there and look at his feed. And
he also randomly met Paul Pierce just on the street. Did you see that?
Yeah, probably. Okay. He was probably dining in the North End or whatever. I told you, Bobby's a made guy out here. I told you that. I always told you guys that.
Paul Pierce stopped Bobby Gomes and said, "Hey, Paul, Bobby, you mind if I get your picture?"
No, it was there. Paul probably came by the restaurant or one of the restaurants he was in, and
all right, yeah, no lineup just yet for the Astros either. You guys kind of talked about Bregman may not play tonight, and I assume Tucker is on the IL, right? I think he's not coming back at all. That's basically not happening either. We have Steve trolling me here in the chat. Who's winning the? I don't know if it's trolling me. Who's winning the hockey game tonight? You guys aren't even following this, I imagine. You don't care for hockey.
I am. I got Oilers.
What? Why?
I mean, because I have them for the series because I got a really good price on them. Because we got.
Have you not heard me touting the Panthers like all year long? I told you guys the Panthers won the cup 7 months ago.
I muted you so long ago that no, it doesn't.
On the show though, I told you, not just on Twitter. I've been telling y'all about the Florida Panthers, but all right.
They were like outshot like 30-13 or something last game. Something crazy.
But they got a wall and nets. Have you heard of Sergei Bobrovsky? That dude's ridiculous. He's out of his mind.
We'll see if walls crumble. It's the thing about walls is they're there and then they crumble. Maybe
next year. not these. Not Edmonton. Probably they deserve a better fate in game 1, but we'll take it. Yeah, excited about game 2 tonight. All right. Let's see. What's the current results in the chat? 55% Florida. So take that. And unless you're saying the chat's not sharp, is that what you're saying, Kirkwood? It's not a sharp chat?
No, I got a good price. It's about price. I got a really good price. So,
I actually bet Edmonton tonight too because I got a boost on the Hard Rock app. So I did bet Edmonton like a plus like 170 or something like that. Who could resist that? I'm not rooting for them, but
wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
You wouldn't bet against your own team.
You wouldn't see me betting on the Mavs. I'll tell you that much.
I'll give you plus 500 on Dallas for game 3.
I'm all
You're
set
lying.
because I know what's going to happen.
You're lying.
I got the almanac, the Gray Sports Almanac.
I got the almanac. There's only one almanac, and I got it.
I stole it, left the cover.
I'll say for a regular season game, that's no problem. For a championship series, we're talking a much bigger deal here for betting against your own team. But I'm generally I'll bet against anybody at the right price. But in a championship series, it gets a little dicey.
It's crazy. It kind of says something about who he is as a person.
No. Okay, first of all, I was not seeking it out. I was not actively saying, "Oh, what's the number in Edmonton?" Hard Rock tells me they test your fandom and they say, "Listen, I know the line is this. We're going to boost it all the way up. How good of a fan are you?" And I'm like, worst case scenario, it's a hedge, right? I'll take the money, and we're 1-1. It's going to be okay. Is out, by the way. Oh, we have a child.
Saying hi. Can you see his shirt?
What does it say? I can't read it. Is that Super Mario?
Super Mario.
Yeah.
Big Mario guy?
He wanted to show off his new Mario shirt. Yeah.
All right. All the lineups are out with the exception of Houston, and I guess the Yankees lineup will be coming out shortly. Yeah, Aaron Judge, they're saying he's resting for the first time in 67 games. So, Keith, give me the case here. I want to hear the sales pitch. Outside of Gilbert's going to be heavily owned, 46% is I'm currently seeing, 59% on Dylan Cease. It's not that they're the best pitchers; they're also in the best matchups. It's like a double whammy. You got to fade, Cease the best pitcher in the slate, and he's facing Oakland. Gilbert, one of the best pitchers on the slate, he's facing Chicago, the White Sox, and Paddock facing the Rockies. These are three of the worst offenses. Paddock is kind of shaky, but you're also getting a price discount too. Fetty, I'm assuming you're going to have a fair bet of Fetty. I'm assuming he's going to be one of the guys you're well over on. Just you face Seattle, you start with 4 strikeouts. That's just how that works. He can get 7 or 8 as well. By the way, were you on Reagan's yesterday with all his Ks? I assume you were.
I did not actually bet him. I was on WNBA projections, and the early Sunday slates are killer for me out here out west. So I didn't do much research before the slate started. So I did not get on Reagan's yesterday, unfortunately.
Do you ever have that moment and be like, "What am I doing on a Sunday afternoon doing WNBA projections?"
The thought crosses your mind a couple of times. Yeah.
I can't bet WNBA stuff. Am I right in assuming the lines, they're probably a little less sharp in the sports books of WNBA just because there's less people on top of it? Is that a fair assumption, Keith, or am I wrong to say that?
I would say a couple years ago that was definitely the case. I think it's gained enough popularity now that it's okay. It's probably not on the same level as the NBA, but it's close.
Okay, I just thought it would be easier to find edges just because you have less eyeballs on it and that kind of thing. Obviously, there's more eyeballs these days, but all right. So tell me who we are pitching. You got to roster 2 dudes out of 12. Keith, you talked about, of course, you fully acknowledge Cease and Gilbert are the best pitchers. But, we care about a 1-game sample, and weird things happen in 1-game samples. So if we're not loading up on Cease and Gilbert, who are we loading up on?
Yeah, so I will have some Cease and Gilbert. I just won't have them together, and I will be under both of their projected ownership pretty significantly. You nailed the guy that I'm all over. It's Eric Fetty. Do you have Logan Gilbert's strikeout rate there off the top of your head? Or yes. Are you looking at it?
I got it. Yeah. Gilbert is 23.6%.
Yeah.
And how about Eric Fetty?
It's exactly the same, 23.5%. Yeah.
So why would I not
swinging strike rates tell a much different story.
You're correct there. And I'm a huge believer in swinging strike rate. I just think that Eric Fetty is a unique case in that he went over to Korea, he developed 2 new pitches, and he's brought them back. He's had some success. He's got a couple of multi-digit strikeout games on his resume in the MLB this season. The strikeout rate is, I think, below where it ends up at the end of the season here. He's still trying to figure out how to work this new arsenal in MLB. So I'm bullish on Fetty long term. I really think he figured something out with this splitter. He doesn't have quite the consistency with it yet. But it's the same. He's the same pitcher as Logan Gilbert from a strikeout perspective. Now, if you're not buying, he's not recording as many swinging strikes. That's a fair point. But the strikeout matchup for Fetty is way better than what it is for Logan Gilbert. So he's cheaper, both in salary and in ownership. I'm just going at least double, probably end up in the 50-60% range on Eric Fetty today.
both matchups are really good from a strikeout perspective. Gilbert against the White Sox. The White Sox collectively versus righties this year, 25.2%. The one knock, and I'm sure you caught this, is the 3 of the 4 contact heavy hitters for Chicago are hitting in the 1, 2, 4 spot. So it's kind of front loaded with their contact guys, and Gilbert, that's probably around the time where he gets pulled, right? Depending on maybe facing like Cheeks for the 3rd time, give or take. But still, a ton of strikeouts there, especially the back end. DeYoung at 31%, DeLoach at 30%, Lee at 28%, DeYoung at 31%. Did I say that one? Collectively at 25%. But it's a bigger number, like you said, Keith. We know Seattle just striking out a ton this year. Just one guy on Plate IQ in the green. That's Josh Rojas at 16%. Otherwise, big dumper Colorado. He's 36%, 32% for the other Luke Rayleigh, Canzone at 28%, 27% collectively. Just a ton of strikeouts here. This game in total, it wouldn't surprise me. I wasn't on the expert survey today, Keith, but there's always a hot take or a bold call, 20 strikeouts from this combined from the starters or something like that. It feels like a lot of Ks on both ends in this game. Maybe 20 is a little bit too ambitious, but you're supposed to be hot takey. Yeah, and we're fine. I assume you're fine, Keith, just to say it. Sometimes people don't like doing it. Rostering the same 2 pitchers in the same game, right? We don't care about, you lose a win. But I don't care about that, at least.
Yeah, no, I prioritize strikeouts over anything else. When I'm targeting DFS pitchers, and the win points are way, way down the list.
All right. Kirkwood, anything you want to add there?
No, is Vinny P hurt or just didn't make the line?
Left on left.
Yeah, I know, but he usually was in there. So that kills. I had the edge. I had the Arrighetti Vinny P lineup, the spaghetti and meatball lineup.
It's Monday though. It's not.
It's Meatball Monday. Meatball Monday and Arrighetti. So that was the edge on tonight's slate, but it's unfortunate.
Yankees lineup, by the way, is Volpe, Soto, Torres, Verdugo, LeMahieu, Grisham, Jones, Trevino, and Cabrera. It's not great. There's no Stanton as well, which is a good bad, right? Because you want Stanton in there because you want to strike him out 3 times, but also he can homer twice. But yeah, the big one, of course, is no Judge, no Stanton. So just a pretty big hit to the power for the Yankees. That's not, are we on the fly here? Are we adding, I don't think he was in the original 6. Seth Lugo, Keith, is he all of a sudden, is he going to be introduced back into the conversation?
I think he is. You're taking 2 huge power bats out of this Yankees lineup. It's still not a great strikeout matchup. And it's actually probably a little worse without Judge and Stanton. But man, the power risk just went down significantly. So I am considering Seth Lugo now at this point. I'm still concerned about some of the underlying stuff for him. He's not as good as he's pitched this season, but as good as he's been this season, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's due for some regression. There's no doubt about it. The BABIP is way too low. It's down at 250. His home run per fly ball is 8%. And he's been a 12% guy in his career. So there's some scary stuff underneath the hood for Seth Lugo. But this Yankees lineup is pretty bad. I think I'm gonna include Lugo in my pool now.
Left on base also 87%, which is pretty lucky as well.
Yeah.
2.13 ERA. The Sierra is almost double at 3.9. XFIP at 3.92, FIP 3.48. So yeah, certainly some luck there. But this Yankee lineup is not as imposing as it typically is. Anybody else that you want to sell us on here, Keith? That you're talking about Fetty. Is Barrios somebody you're going to roster? Are you going to be in the garbage can and scraping the barrel and throwing out some Estes just because? Are we doing that, or is that necessary or not so much?
No, that's not necessary. Kirkwood absolutely nailed the 6 pitchers that were in play, and I've added Lugo as the 7th. Arrighetti is the other one that I want to highlight. He's just too cheap. He's been outstanding here recently. Gets a ballpark upgrade going out to San Francisco. He's really put it together. He left his last start early because he got lined up, hit by a line drive. So
yeah,
his leash has been solid. The strikeouts have been solid. Arrighetti is too cheap for as well as he's pitched here recently.
Yeah, it was a pretty hyped up prospect as well. That first game he came in, was it against Texas? I want to say somebody beat him up pretty good. Kansas City, his very first start, just an inning, and just got absolutely shellacked. But yeah, he's kind of righted the ship, and he's the overall numbers aren't spectacular in part because of that one just horrendous outing. You got anything on Arrighetti? Anybody else you want to focus on? Kirkwood, you're saying play the best pitchers. Like you're going to play Cease and you're going to play Gilbert, or are you stepping down to Paddock? Do you have the money for Gilbert as your SP2?
Arrighetti is actually my third favorite.
Okay.
I like Cease. I like Gilbert. I'm not overthinking it. I think Paddock is terrible and has gotten some good games. I get it. It has the best matchup, but I don't believe in him at all. So I'm more apt to take the Rockies on a night like tonight. But I get it. But Arrighetti is, San Fran is nothing special, and Arrighetti's got good strikeout stuff. Should be able to do it. So if you look at San Fran, they don't strike out a ton, but they're right like in the middle, and then they're just not very dangerous. So you get the good park for him. So, and he's cheap. But the problem is now it's like there's a lot of value bats opening up all over the place. So you can pretty much make strong lineups with Gilbert and Cease. But so Arrighetti will be the next, then Fetty. And that's really all I'm considering. I'm fading Paddock tonight.
Clue number 2 for Movie Monday. Clue number 1 is scrolling right now on the screen. It's timing. Clue number 2 is Prodigy. Timing and Prodigy. Let me know what movie we're talking about. Where do you answer that? You answer that into the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. If you are the first to answer correctly, only one guess per clue drop. You get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Or, you know what? You can just go ahead and buy yourself some RG Premium. No better time to do so. We are running some sales. NBA, PGA, NHL, MMA, MLB, WNBA, all the goods. 6-month sub, $250 off the standard price. If you're going to go month by month by month by month, you want to commit to just 1 month, that's cool. $40 off there. And you just want to commit to 3 days, get yourself a 3-day pass for $19.99. All the links are in the description for that. Go ahead and now people are answering. All right, yeah. Official. The directions are very simple. I know. I saw Broccoli Boy in chat was saying, "Well, why not just give it to YouTube one of these times?" Well, for starters, it's just kind of it's just trickier to do, trickier to keep up with, I suppose. But and we want to get people hanging out in the Discord. That's where people hanging out throughout the day. So, oh wait, somebody got it in Discord apparently. We already have a winner. Don't you feel silly if you don't have it just yet? I try to make this a little bit trickier, a little bit harder, but we're not making it hard enough. Apparently, we're gonna play along with we'll play it out. But
I don't think I've ever gotten one in my own head. I don't think I've ever correctly gotten one.
Yeah, it's not your thing. It's fine. Well, you keep guessing the same movie, and we've never used that movie.
I can't back down now. I'm pot committed.
You're pot committed. You're martingale-ing it, but knowing that and knowing you're on the show and knowing you're watching, I'm just never going to use that movie now. I can't.
Yeah, but I feel like someday you're going to be like, I'm going to get him today. Like, and he's going to never see it.
If you're on vacation, I'll use it. Like if I know you're not watching, I know you're not in the show, then I'll use it.
I'm always watching. Always watching.
You're not going to be like in Paris though, watching Grinders live.
Yeah, I probably would.
All right, unbelievable. Somebody hit it.
Jug Nation. When I go away, I miss my Jug Nation.
I understand. I get it. Okay. Let's get this to the summary. As far as pitchers, we'll talk a little bit of stacks. We got a half hour until crunch time's coming in. Crunch time coming in at 7:00. You got Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, 2-time millionaire winner. You have TastefulTides, Tim, and as well as Kevin Roth, chief meteorologist. Speaking of meteorology, weather, it's all clean. It's all good. No issues unless something has changed. There doesn't seem to be anything to monitor this evening. All right. Give me the summary, Kirkwood, as far as pitchers. It's like we said, it's pretty straightforward, but somebody just joined the show 2 minutes ago. They didn't realize they didn't get the notification. And they're busy. They're doing stuff. Give them like the 1 minute summary as far as pitchers tonight.
Cease and Gilbert, 2 best arms on the slate, best matchups on the slate. I'm not overthinking it, but they are going to be extremely chalky and a very chalky pairing. So if you want to differentiate it, I get it. Paddock is also going to be chalk. 7,100 gets you a good savings off of them. Going 1-1, you can really make some nice lineups, but I don't believe in him at all. Although it is Colorado, and I do always go by the mantra that I would throw a head chopper against the Rockies on the road. But man, I just
even
think,
still,
You know what? I would throw him over Paddock. So I'm off on Paddock. Fetty is I'm on board with Fetty. Keith likes him the most. I'm on board with Arrighetti, 6,500. He's probably my third favorite. So it would be C. Skilbert, Arrighetti, then Fetty. Then you can get crazy with Rodon if you want. Maybe Berrios. I get the play with Seth Lugo because of the watered down Yankees lineup. But this is still Seth Lugo, and he's 8,400. I just don't see it in breaking the slate for you tonight. So I'm out on that. But
some people in chat were saying the lineup is dog water, which I think is that's a Kirkwood word.
Dog water. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Anything worth adding there, Keith? Anything you want to add as far as pitchers? I know you kind of said your piece, but just anything you feel was left out?
No, I think Kirkwood nailed it. Good to go.
All right. Let's talk about our stacks. Today's stack category. I like to get an organic reaction. So you guys are not aware of today's stack category. Maybe you can give me some answers. You can supply what you think should be on the board. But Keith, Kirkwood, chat, let us know in chat. We power ranked, or I power ranked, best two sport athletes, or multiple sport athletes, I should say. Multiple sport athletes. Best multiple sport athletes.
I know the top two. I mean, this is all time?
Well, yeah. Well, what do you mean? I'm not going back to like Athens, Greece. But what do you mean? Like, yeah, they don't currently have to be playing right now. That's what you're asking. Oh, you know what? I totally screwed up. I realized Derek blew it. Oh, I blew it. I totally blew it. I missed the joke. How did I forget Air Bud? That is on me. Derek, good call. I apologize to Air Bud. He's a 7-sport athlete.
Yeah, it's Bo Jackson and Neon for your 1 and 2, whichever.
Oh.
But other than that, I don't really have anyone. Michael Jordan down at the bottom, maybe, because he played baseball. Wow.
Unbelievable.
Aaron Hernandez just made it in chat. Someone said Aaron Hernandez.
I'm
Dave
so
Winfield
mad at myself for not saying Air Bud.
Hunter?
I can't get over that one. All right. So the chat is on top of it. Yeah, it's pretty obvious, the chalk stuff. Number one is Bo Jackson, of course. Bo Vincent Jackson, awesome in football, awesome in baseball. Jim Brown, one of the best football players, running backs of all time. And according to like the Lacrosse Hall of Fame, he's the greatest lacrosse player of all time. So, Jim Brown was an amazing lacrosse player, a spectacular football player. Dave Winfield is the only athlete, to my knowledge, that's been drafted. Was drafted in 4 different sports or 3 different sports. He was drafted.
Did he play them professionally though?
Well, he couldn't. He did not play professional basketball, but he was drafted in basketball. I think the Vikings drafted him in football.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of players like that.
Like a Russell Wilson thing. Is that you're doing? Kyler Murray. But I think he was drafted kind of high too. So Winfield played. He played every sport.
The tight end for the Saints. They always talk great basketball player.
Oh, Tony Gonzalez, of course. Yeah, Jimmy Graham. Yeah. Tony Gonzalez played basketball, I believe. So Dave Winfield was multiple sport athletes.
I can't believe that Dave Winfield's up there and Neon Dion isn't.
He was considered. I wanted to give Winfield a little bit of love, but yeah, Dion should have been there too, and I didn't want to throw him any lower. Jordan, of course, one of the better basketball players of all time, and then one of the worst
better basketball players of all time.
You're going to dispute that? You're going to dispute? He's not one. He's one of. He's Mookie Betts is a spectacular bowler. That's a good answer, Devin.
How'd you miss that? Yeah.
Well, because you can only rank 5. How'd you miss it?
Yeah, but Dave Winfield.
Yeah, he three sports. He was awesome at football.
Did he play them professionally?
Well, no. He would have, his body would have been mutilated by the time he was like 25. Like, no,
I bet you like every player in like professional sports was a three sport athlete in high school or something.
Todd Helton played football at Tennessee, right? At least he backed up Peyton Manning. Like you can't get everybody on the board. Brian Jordan was somebody who was considered, but he was not. He wasn't great at everything, but he was good for the Braves, and he was good for the St. Louis Cardinals. No, he played in both Atlanta teams, right? He was a Falcon, and he played for the Braves and the Falcons. I think he was a St. Louis Cardinal as well. Antonio Gates, basketball player. What is Tom Glavine? Was he? I think he's a good golfer. Pretty sure he's a good golfer. And of course, dead last, Tim Tebow. He wasn't really great at anything. He's good at college football, but professional football not good. Baseball horrendous. There you go. That's and Jordan, Jordan, one of the worst baseball players we've seen, and very good basketball player. Like you were saying, Keith, are you disputing that? You don't think he's one of the better basketball players of all time?
I think you were underselling that a little bit. It's not. I mean, like there's one other guy you could possibly make an argument for, and anything beyond that is just ludicrous.
Fair enough. I may have framed that a little bit. Yeah, where I kind of undersold him. Not a big Jordan guy. You can see my where is Jim Thorpe? Tasteful Tides wants to know. Yeah, he was he played everything, right? Thorpe. You can only make so many on the board. What are you gonna do? Tebow did not have the opportunity in the NFL. I mean, come on. Have you seen Tebow? He can't. You got to throw. He would have been great playing with Jim Thorpe.
What about Greg Hardy?
1920?
What about Greg Hardy?
UFC
football player,
MMA
UFC fighter. UFC
Isn't he like a joke at fighting? I don't know. He's not good at it, right?
He's out of the UFC
great
now, and he's boxing and getting knocked out in boxing. I mean, the guy has got some bad karma on his side too.
Famous Jameis. What else did Jameis play? What other sport did Jameis Winston play? I don't know this. Without Dion, the list is a joke. Well, where do you want Dion? Again, he would have been where Dave Winfield is. He's fine. Dion's good. You just can't put everybody on the board. Darren Waller, rapper / rapping. This is not my wheelhouse, but have you guys heard the Darren Waller rap video? I don't know if it's a rap video, it's just a musician.
Hot take. I think he's pretty good. Okay,
that is a hot take. We're gonna have to. You know what, Kirkwood? Next show you do, I want you to get power rank athletes / musicians, best musician athletes. Can you do that?
Man, there's some good. There's a jazz somebody in the NBA who's a great
Allen
jazz
Iverson?
musician. I can't.
David
No, I
Lillard?
can't.
Tisdale. Tisdale was a bass player, I believe.
He's probably number one. Shaq. First of all, he's an electric DJ today, and was a hip hop artist, also a movie mogul. Shaq is the man. Shaq is the hardest working man. Guy does everything.
He does a lot of things.
But he
Bernie Williams played bass too, I believe. There you go. Casey saying Bernie Williams. I believe he was a bassist.
No, I was thinking Tisdale though.
Okay, yeah. Is Tatum a rapper? Does Tatum rap? I have no idea if he does or does not. I cannot.
No, not. Just relax.
I'm just reading what the chat says. I'm not saying he is or isn't. I'm just telling you. Usually the chat, they're on top of things. Okay.
First game. Gator Nation knows that was Shaq. Shaq and the Fushnik.
I remember. Phil was my father. My biological didn't bother. There you go. That was the thing. That's the first Shaq song I can think of. So Dakota Hudson takes on Chris Paddock. That's the Rockies and the Minnesota Twins. 8.5 total. You've kind of alluded to this well, Keith, as far as Minnesota being pretty popular on the board. A team total above 5. Big time favorite, minus 240 against Dakota Hudson and whatever's waiting for the Twins there in that bullpen. Where are we going to throw? Keith, you're starting us off. Minnesota and the Rockies.
Yeah, I mean, in a vacuum, Minnesota would be the top stack on the slate, but we don't play DFS in a vacuum. This ownership is kind of tough to swallow. Hudson's not good. He has like a 13% K rate. His lone skill is keeping the ball on the ground. So he's entirely dependent on the ball finding gloves.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know. The power from Minnesota just doesn't scare me. They're the looking like the most popular stack on the slate, and I don't want to eat that chalk. So I'm going to put them in Dave Winfield. I know they have the highest team total, but as far as like my exposure, they're just middle of the pack for me today. If I'm way off the board and if I'm fading any of the main 3 pitchers, I'm totally fine playing some Minnesota. I just won't have them at the rate that the field will. Colorado to me is really interesting today because Paddock is going to get some ownership, particularly on DraftKings. I really like Ryan McMahon. Ezekiel Tovar's had a great season. I'm just not afraid of Chris Paddock. He struck out less than 18% of lefties. So I love Ryan McMahon today. Jake Cave is really cheap at the bottom of that order. I have a little interest in the Rockies because I don't think Paddock is any good. I got them in Dave Winfield as well.
Yeah. This slate, the L word's a big word, the old leverage word, because everybody knows what pitchers are going to be rostered out there. But it's like, oh boy, do I have to roster the Rockies now to get some leverage? I think I heard Kirkwood make a noise when he heard Jake Cave. He's not a big Jake Cave fan. Where are we putting Minnesota and Colorado?
When a guy has that much gray hair and on his beard too, and hasn't homered the entire season, I can't play that guy. I can play everyone.
It's a revenge game, though.
Yeah, it's going to take more than revenge. I mean, this guy's a .071 ISO.
It's not good.
Versus right-handed pitching this season. I get it. In the past, he's worked out. He was Cleveland, Minnesota, a guy who had some pop. And maybe, I played David O Baby Doll and got my home run like I needed. So I get it. You could get the home run, but he's not nearly as washed. But I'm on board. I like Colorado Rockies in my second, in the second slot there. So I actually like
Jim Brown.
Yeah, Jim Brown. I mean, it's a 6-game slate. This is the leverage spot against Paddock. I'm not a believer in Paddock. Paddock has the highest home run per 9 on the slate. He primarily a fly ball guy, and always has had trouble with lefties. And the Rockies can throw some lefties together. And but I'll take any of them. So I like this stack. Obviously, it's tough to win with the Rockies, and it doesn't happen that often outside of course. But I think tonight it could happen on a 6-game slate. So I like it up Jim Brown.
All right, we're gonna we're gonna chill, pump the brakes a little bit. I'm gonna go with Keith on this. I gotta break the ties if you guys disagree. We can't put Colorado and Jim Brown. They're still the Rockies, and they're not.
What happens if I change my mind and want to go up to Jim Brown?
Did Kirkwood change your mind to me?
I mean, I'm very I like the Rockies a good amount. They're among the top stacks for me. They're probably mid tier. So let's leave them in Winfield. But I'm on board with Kirkwood on this. They're one of the stronger stacks on the slate.
Okay. Kirkwood, did you give your thoughts as far as Minnesota? Did I miss it? I was reading the chat. My apologies.
And Minnesota, I would put up in the top tier. I mean, this. You know what? I'm going to win tonight again with a game stack using a Coors team that's not in Coors. So I like both sides. So I'll go Jim Brown or Bo Jackson for the Twins. I don't care about.
So we'll have to compromise. We'll throw Minnesota and Jim Brown. We'll keep Colorado and Dave Winfield. We'll move on. Yankees, Royals, 8.5 total. Lugo versus Rodon. Yankees still a slight favorite here. They are without 2 of their big boppers. No Judge, no Stanton. They are lurking for pinch hit stuff, I imagine. But obviously the lineup does not look nearly as spectacular as it would. They are getting Soto back for what it's worth. This is your board, Kirkwood. Where do you have the Yankees and the Royals? And apparently, I'm told in chat from Eric that Sal Perez has BBP, so be on alert for that.
Oh, baby doll. Let me see here. All right, give me Yankees up and Jim Brown. Just because, and it's only the top half of the lineup. I'll play Grisham, 2.2K, batting 6th, lefty against Lugo. Good park, decent park. And so I'll play Grisham there, but other than that, I played Trevino too, but I'll probably pass on Cabrera, Jones, LeMahieu. I don't think I can play LeMahieu. So 1 through 4 and 6. And this is one of my favorite stacks on the board tonight.
Royals,
it's a little bit tougher, but I can't believe on Meatball Monday they don't put Vinny P in there, but I don't mind the stack. I put them like Winfield or Jordan. That's
all
fine.
right. Well,
you guys can tweak it from there.
All right, Keith. Any issues here? Yankees and Jim Brown, Kansas City in the middle with Dave Winfield.
I agree with Kansas City. I would like them a little bit better if they weren't so expensive. But Bobby Witt's great and Sal Perez is great, but to play them together, it gets a little bit tricky, especially if you're paying up for pitcher. I like them as a mini stack a ton. Nelson Velasquez is a nice cheap piece. Michael Garcia is overpriced. He's been okay against lefties, but I don't love the stack against Rodon. I love a couple of pieces here, Witt and Perez being the main two. Fermin is a cheap catching option you could use instead of Perez to kind of make it work, but they're middle of the road for me. Good pitcher against Rodon. He's been much better this season after struggling for most of last year. The Yankees, I'm kind of torn on with no Judge. Like Judge was one of my favorite hitters on the slate, obviously, because he's just been doing crazy things. I think I'm going Winfield here, though. I believe in some of what Lugo is doing. There's some regression coming, but I still think he is an above-average pitcher.
All right, so both will be in Dave Winfield. Next one is yours, Kirkwood. Let's go ahead and get the next two clues out today for Movie Monday. It was already paid off, but if those that are still playing through it, we'll play it through. Clue number one was timing, then prodigy, then the next two are push and bang. Timing, prodigy, push, and bang. Kirkwood, don't say anything. All right. Toronto versus Milwaukee, 8.5 is the total. Barrios versus Colin Ray. Kirkwood, this is Keith. Keith, you got the Blue Jays and the Brewers. Where are we throwing these two teams? Both with a team total just above 4.
Yeah, I'm not scared of Colin Ray by any means. So I do like the Blue Jays a good amount. I know they're definitely gutless. There's no power in this lineup. It's really frustrating to stack these guys up. Horwitz getting the call up and being in there, having second base eligibility does help. It makes it easier to stack this team. Bichette is still really cheap, but he's kind of got that Vlad Guerrero problem where he's just hitting way too many ground balls. Schneider's been really good. Who's the catcher I'm looking for? Not Kirk, but the other guy. Jansen. Is Jansen not in the lineup?
Jansen's not in the lineup.
Yeah, that's a hit to them. But they're still up there in Jim Brown for me. Frustrating team to roster.
Kirk.
Yeah, for sure.
So
in Major League Baseball, the highest pitcher catcher body mass index award goes to Manoah, who's now getting surgery and gone, and Alejandro Kirk when those guys played together. Fun fact.
Tough career for Manoah. Any issues here, Kirkwood, as far as Toronto and Jim Brown and Milwaukee also? Did you put Milwaukee and Jim Brown as well? Is that
give me Milwaukee and Winfield. I didn't give my spiel on them, but
Barrios, okay, I didn't think so.
Barrios is an above-average pitcher. I've got them in Winfield.
Kirkwood, any issues here?
I mean, the Blue Jays are just so gutless.
They weren't on the board last time. Have they moved up the rankings? Is that what's happened? We've not seen an updated rankings of the gutless pilot rankings.
They were on the gutless. They were on the rankings.
I'm pretty sure they were.
Were they?
Right now. They were. Here, I'll pull it up right now. They were number 3, I think.
Oh, my apologies. Never mind.
I mean, I like Schneider. I think Horwitz is a cheap piece. That he's got some pop. He's not anything right. He's like 26-year-old. But he does have some pop, so he could hit one. So I like that. Everyone else, this lineup is just tough to get behind. They just never come through. But and I agree, I guess, with the Brewers. But I mean, I'd say the Brewers are above average offense, and they're also facing an above average pitcher. Barrios could get rocked. I mean, it's happened. So on a small slate. So I like some of these guys, but I would mainly take the best bats from the list, maybe like 2, 3, 4, 5.
But I'm saying, as far as the ranking, are you good with keeping?
I'm good. I'm good in there putting them at Winfield, but I wouldn't have a problem moving them up one notch either. But I'm fine right there.
Oakland at San Diego, 7.5 is the total. 7.5. That's mostly because, largely in part, that Oakland's got a team total less than 3. Joey Estes taking on Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease, the most popular pitcher on the board. Padres are getting Machado back. Arise, Tatis, Profar, Cronenworth, Machado, Solano, Merrill, Kim, and Campusano. Kirk, what you tell me? Where are we putting the Athletics and the Padres?
Are the Padres chalk?
No, but I'm playing them. I think they're my favorite team.
I mean, I like the Padres, and I like the spot. But the problem is whenever they're in a good spot, but which usually comes around in chalk. When they're chalk, I'll fade them. If they're not, so this is straight ownership. I gotta get comfortable with how owned they are. But as without including ownership, just liking the stack in this spot, I would have him in Jim Brown.
Okay. And Oakland,
But,
you have him down in Tebow?
Yeah, get out of here, Oakland. Lip can have all the A's he wants tonight.
Rooker's been really good. I'll give him that. Like, he's an interesting one-off. I don't mind that. And the old leverage, the old L word for sure, is in play for Oakland as well. Keith, jump in here. Confirm, deny. San Diego and Jim Brown. Athletics and Tim Tebow.
Confirm A's in Tebow and confirm Padres in Jim Brown as well. Another guy who's been surprisingly good, Jurickson Profar. This San Diego offense, like, they're way better than it feels like they are. I don't know where they produce runs because it's never when any of us stack them. But they're a top 5 offense in baseball. It's insane. And nobody's afraid of Joey Estes.
You mentioned top 5. Profar as the 5th highest WRC plus in baseball, just ahead of Gunnar Henderson, Ohtani, Betts, and you know who's 9th? Brent Rooker. Brent Rooker is 9th. He's been really good. The rest of that team, not so much. But Profar is the weirdest thing, man, because he's like post type sleeper. 31-year-old Profar finally maybe figuring it out, because this is a guy who was a huge prospect many years ago, and he was just horrendous for Texas. And I guess maybe he figured it out. I don't know.
Yeah, he figured out what to eat for breakfast every morning is what happened.
You hired the right trainers.
Yes.
And Estes, fly ball guy, you know, I feel like we can get a couple homers off of Estes here. 4.7% homer to fly ball on the season, in part because, you know, that ballpark there in Oakland, I imagine. But he's been giving up. This is just, I know it's different depending if you look at Plate IQ or if you look at FanGraphs. I got the FanGraphs page open up. Estes, 17% ground ball, 57% fly balls. The sample's not huge, but I'm just banking on San Diego hitting him for a couple homers. And, you know, that bullpen's not great after you get past Miller. Miller's not going to be out there if they're losing. So there we go. That's why San Diego is they're my favorite team on the board, because you got to pick somebody who's your favorite, I guess. And that's who it is. Kirkwood? No, wait. Who's up next? My apologies. Who's batting up next? I don't recall.
I believe I'm up first.
Okay. Seattle at home versus the White Sox. Another clear and obvious. You know, Logan Gilbert's going to be really popular. The White Sox have a 3 total. Eric Fetty's been pretty good. You get a pile of strikeouts on the other side against Seattle. Feels like a good game if you like strikeouts. Fetty versus Gilbert. What do you got for me, Keith? Set the board for us.
Yeah, they belong down there with the A's and Tebow. If you want to try a one-off to get some leverage on Gilbert, I don't mind that. Robert's the guy I would certainly look to. Corey Julks is really cheap. Paul DeJong has some power theoretically, but he's going to strike out probably 3 times. But I have no interest in the stack whatsoever. So they're way down in Tebow. Seattle is a little more interesting leverage spot because I think they could get to Fetty. Personally, I'm on the Fetty strikeouts, and I won't be playing a ton. I don't think it's a bad strategy by any means to target some of these Seattle bats. For me, they're in Jordan today. But like I said, I do think it's a decent leverage spot. There's enough power here.
All right. So Seattle and Jordan, White Sox and Tebow, Kirkwood. We go with that or moving on?
I actually like putting Seattle up to Jim Brown. I mean, I want to attack, like, Paddock and Fetty are 2 guys that I'm not sold on as being, you know, especially Paddock, but in general. So I think it's a good idea to attack both of these guys tonight. And obviously, you know, you lose rallies, you know, with these strikeouts, but a lot of these guys have good power. So, you know, I could see this Seattle stack going off. So give me Seattle at Jim Brown, but I would even potentially put him at Bo Jackson.
I think we're going to compromise here, Keith. Seattle and Winfield are Brown. Where are we moving Seattle? We'll move them up. I mean, I think you're just supposed to put him at Winfield. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, if I wasn't playing so much Fetty, I would be on Seattle. So I'm fine with them in Brown if you guys want to go there. I do think they're a good stack. I'm just playing so much Fetty because I want leverage on the other pitchers on the slate.
Last clue, by the way, is Devo. Devo just hit the board. Let us know in chats if you're playing for fun. You're getting some reps in. Tell us what we were talking about. We did get a winner. I believe it was Gregorius the Wise who took it down. So congratulations. Who binked it on 2 clues: timing, prodigy, push, bang, and Devo. Shout out to Gregorius the Wise. You already got yourself hooked up there with some premium. I believe he's an RG member already, so he opted for some scores and odds premium. Speaking of, I am the leader of the squad ride tonight, so jump over to the squad ride channel and find out what we're all betting there. Crunch time will be coming in momentarily. We do have one more game. Houston lineup is out, boys. Bregman is in. Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, Pena, Myers, Devon, Abreu, McCormick, Caratini is the catcher. So it's their backup catcher tonight. Kirkwood, this is your board. We got to be quick because crunch time is coming. But Astros and Giants, what do you got for me?
I like Houston a lot in this spot. I like them against lefties. I like Altuve. I'm scared of Bregman getting hit in the hand, but whatever. Alvarez, good lineup spot for Myers. So give me them up. Are they my favorite tonight? I wanted Minnesota up top, and then I would have Houston and Jim Brown, but I know you guys disagree. But so give me Houston and Jim Brown. And then San Fran, I don't have much interest. I really like playing Arrighetti tonight.
So they're in Jordan. I think that's a producer Steve put them. Is that you're good with that?
Yeah, Steve knows how. Steve knows he can read the tea leaves here.
Okay, Keith, we go with this. Shall we move on? We want to move Houston up, or we're good with this.
Houston is my favorite stack on the slate, so I would have them in Bo Jackson, but I'm fine with Jim Brown too. I think you can definitely.
I'm up. They're up there with me too. So let's go, Bo.
Yep,
Bo knows.
let's go, Bo Jackson. Kyle Harrison is a good pitcher. He's a very good prospect. He's not quite figured it out yet. I don't like that Diaz isn't in the lineup at catcher. He was definitely one of my favorite cheaper catchers. But Jordan just doesn't get played enough lefty ever. And Harrison has had pretty massive splits here. A huge strikeout rate to lefties. He's been under 20% to righties. And Houston's they're rolling out with 8 righties outside of Jordan Alvarez. This is a nightmare lineup for Harrison to try to get through. So ballpark downgrade isn't the best, but I think they match up really well against Harrison.
All right, let's get your Juggalo bombs ready to go for the people. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Crunch time coming in just a second. Our official board is, I thought we were going to have nobody up top with Bo Jackson. We ended up with one team with Houston. Then Jim Brown's got Minnesota, Toronto, San Diego. Dave Winfield with the Rockies, Kansas City, the Yankees, despite the fact they're without 2 of their boppers. Milwaukee, Seattle, Michael Jordan all alone with the Giants, and Tim Tebow's hanging out with, it seems like the White Sox and the A's are always all the way down there in the gutter, but that's just how it goes. All right, that is our board. Kirkwood, give me the Juggalo bombs. Who's going yard for the people?
I'll give you 2. Give me the big dumper. Cal Raleigh. Yeah, people aren't aware. And
did you bet these by chance? I don't know if you do it based on the odds or just like these are who you like.
I'm not betting home runs right now.
All right, you don't have to.
But I'm playing them in DFS.
Yeah,
and I'm expecting a homer. Other than that, the guy that I kind of think, give me Rhys Hoskins.
Do we know who Tyler Locklear is? That's who's playing baseball tonight for the Mariners. Is this a rookie that I'm not aware of? I don't think he's available in the pool for the record. Looks like he's played 1 game for the Mariners in his career.
Actually, you know what? I want to get rid of Rhys Hoskins. I want to say Verdugo.
Okay. You got anything, Keith, as far as Tyler Locklear? And I want your homers as well.
I don't have anything on Tyler Locklear. Just looked him up real quick. 2nd round pick in 22. Not a top prospect. It does not look like. So first
not a ton of speed, not a ton of power. And, yeah, not in the pool either. All right. Crunch time's coming in a second, but we need a homer or 2, Keith. What do you got for me?
Give me Ryan McMahon to take the chalky Chris Paddock yard, and I will go Jordan Alvarez, lefty. Hits one into the cove tonight.
All right, we've teased it enough. Here comes Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. You got Tim to TastefulTides, and as well as Kevin Roth. It's crunch time. Here they come. Oh, Kevin Roth looks upset. It's not the time of the show. Now. Is there other things? Is there other reasons, Roth?
It's just Boston. It's just these little bastards that don't miss a shot. Their 4th and 5th best players are freaking amazing.
They missed every shot last night.
Missed a lot.
They missed They hit every big freaking shot.
They couldn't have shot worse from the 3, and they still were.
They could have shot like Dallas. They could have
that's
shot worse. They
fun.
could have shot like Dallas did.
No, that's the worst.
Dallas
That
can't win
was the
game,
worst the Celtics played. Well,
I
the
know.
worst the Celtics could have played was last night.
I know.
And they still won by 10 plus.
I know.
Like,
It's terrible. It's pathetic. It's basically over. But I still, on the current odds, I still want my boys. If anybody wants to slide into the DMs, Dean, Kirk, you want to give me like plus 800, I'll take Dallas.
Well, that's not the current odds. So you're making
plus 950, right? I saw
you're opening your own sports book. It's not. Hold on a
plus
second.
950 on FanDuel.
Is that what it is?
No, they're Celtics
Plus
minus
550 on DK is Dallas. They're plus
Okay,
650 on MGM.
What's
You
it
don't
on?
get the reverse of the same line.
I saw
He wants the
950
juice
on
too.
FanDuel.
On
All right.
FanDuel, okay, so Boston is minus 950 on FanDuel, but if you want Dallas, it's plus 640. So yeah,
You want to
the
know
book
you
takes a
want to
cut
know
in the middle.
about? I would love to come here and just and rain on your parade. That when you went off about the Celtics, but we're different here in Boston. We're championship city. I'm just gonna let it go.
You guys are the worst. You're the only decent person in that whole city. You're the only person I like in all of Boston.
I appreciate that, but that's not. Boston is so much different. It's a huge college. This is like the college mecca with
I know,
MIT, Harvard. There are so many good people in Boston.
I went one
there
time.
are some bad apples that spoil the bunch, but
I went one time, and this guy, I was at a party, and this guy just came up to me and he goes, "How about I break this bottle over your head, huh? How about that?" And I was like, I don't know why that's happening. Why?
I thought you were going to do how you like
you were in Goodwill Hunting.
Yeah. Anyways, congratulations. Good win for you guys.
A series doesn't start until a home team loses.
It's over.
It
but
started.
plus 500. I'll take your money plus 500 if you want to. If anybody
Kevin,
wants.
do you not like Bobby Gomes? Because you said there's only one good person in all of Boston, and Bobby Gomes is based in Boston. I don't know if you want to retract that.
No,
maybe there's an issue.
I'm kidding. I like him. He's great. I didn't know that. He's great.
We're getting Tim. Tim's bouncing in and bouncing out. I think he might have some internet issues. So just so you are aware, I'm not sure if you saw that, Roth. I assume you did, but you may or may not have Tim. Yeah. All the usage tonight for Dave Potts, it appears, for crunch time if Tim does not come back.
We'll talk some Dallas Mavs for sure.
What about Florida Edmonton? I know you're actually watching that, Dave.
First game was great. I love a great goalie in the playoffs, and they got that going on.
Yeah, Bobrovsky, it was out of his mind. They probably should have lost that game, or at least
Kind of.
Yeah.
It looks like they got outplayed.
How about I break this bottle over your face? You know what? Okay, I got to tell one quick story.
Yeah.
So this is all true. It's related. So I grew up in a place like Long Meadow, Mass, way like 2 hours outside of Boston. I was from the western part of the state. I moved here after college, so it's a big mob. Springfield, Mass is like where they send all like the big mob guys to hide out, like they used to, like in back in the day. Mm-hmm. And the guy who killed Whitey Bulger in jail, I played basketball against him in like a court outside, and I was like a punk kid with like my punk friends, and you know what I mean? Like
you don't say.
Yapped. Like we yapped. Like I was hitting. I hit a three, and I like made some comment, and it was to this guy Aralata, who went to prison, and he was the one who I guess murdered, got him in prison, got Whitey Bulger. But he told me he was going to break my face. Like I've never heard that before. He goes, "I'm gonna break your face," and I was he looked like one of those guys from Uncut Gems, who was just like looked really like bad. Like, and I was so scared.
He will kill like a 14-year-old. No qualms about it.
Yeah. All right, let's step aside and get out of here and fire up crunch time. You may or may not get Tim. I think he's bouncing in, bouncing out, trying to figure out his internet. But myself and Kirkwood and Keith, we do appreciate you watching the first portion. Do hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on those notifications, but don't go anywhere because crunch time is starting right now. Kevin Roth, take it away.
Let's do it. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. I would say two of the sharpest minds in the biz, but we're going old school. Cheese, you and I used to do this on the daily, just the two of us, for, I don't know, at least a season, if not a couple seasons. So this is OG crunch time, Cheese.
It is. And yeah, it's a fine slate to do. We only got 6 games, so we can talk through everything as much as we want.
Great.
Maybe Tim will pop in. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. We'll give it a shot. If not, that's cool. There is no weather concerns. I am drowning my sorrows after the Mavs game, so I plan on drinking 6 or 7 of these during the show, and we'll kind of go through what we got.
Yeah. So I think the first thing I want to discuss is the ownership at pitcher. I kind of started the musings like this. Like, we have very obvious Dylan Cease, and it's not that hard to afford Dylan Cease. And then we have kind of very obvious Logan Gilbert as the other somewhat expensive pitcher. But at least on DraftKings, when you build lineups, I don't really see how Gilbert is actually like a 50% owned pitcher. I really think Paddock picks up probably even more ownership, and I think Eric Fetty and Spencer Arrighetti. Ooh, Fetty and Arrighetti. Didn't even think about that. I think those guys pick up a lot more ownership, taking away from Gilbert.
So the obvious number 2 is not at all the number 2.
Yeah, because of salary. Like, you would play Gilbert if you had the salary. Nobody's like playing Paddock ahead of Gilbert and leaving salary on the table, but you can do almost anything you want with Cease and one of the cheaper guys. And
Can I ask real quick, is Gilbert good enough where you can just get off of Cease instead of Gilbert and go like Gilbert another dude, or no, you're giving up too much?
I mean, sort of, yes. I think it's reasonable to say, if you agree with what I'm saying, which is that Cease is in fact like 60% owned, but I think Gilbert is more like the 30% owned guy. I do think it's reasonable to do some Gilbert instead of Cease. But I'm actually just as happy not playing either of them than I am with playing both of them, honestly.
Okay.
Because they're not like, the matchups are really good. Like, that's why they're jockey, even though these are not like superstars. Like, Dylan Cease can be a superstar, but he's not really, he's not really acting like a 10K pitcher recently. He is certainly my highest owned pitcher, and I think he'll be everyone's highest owned pitcher. But this is not like a lock button kind of situation. He's got the ceiling. He's got a pretty good floor in the matchup. Like, and the problem with Gilbert is he's just still really not a strikeout guy. It would be surprising if he doesn't get a quality start, which is all nice and fine and good. But probably like, 6 or 7 strikeouts is much more likely than 8 or 9. And he doesn't have double-digit strikeouts once all year in 13 games. So to answer your original question, sure, you can pivot to Gilbert over Cease, but I would rather just either play Cease or just go with 2 cheaper guys, honestly.
Okay, well, I'm intrigued. People are saying thoughts on Lugo, thoughts on Fetty. So who are these cheaper guys that you're interested in?
Yeah, so I like Eric Fetty better than Chris Paddock. It's very close. And I guess I think their ownership's going to be more like 35-30. Like, I think they're both pretty well owned. Originally this morning, I was thinking we're just getting sneaky with Fetty. We're fading Paddock chalk. I think Fetty is moderately chalky too. So the way to get different now, if different is your goal, is you could consider Seth Lugo with the wonky Yankees lineup, or you could play Carlos Rodon against Kansas City, or you go cheaper with Spencer Arrighetti, who, again, I think he picks up way more than 11% ownership. I think this is like 20-25%. Personally, Cease and Fetty is far and away my highest owned combo.
But you also think that might be the chalk, Cease and Fetty.
Well, I still think Paddock will come in ahead of Fetty.
Okay.
Cease Paddock is the chalk. Cease Paddock would be the cash game pairing, and I do think that's the chalk. So, well, Fetty's not sneaky. It's also not like the massive chalk. And personally, I did not end up playing any Seth Lugo. And I honestly don't think I have any Carlos Rodon. It's totally viable to play those guys. I can't really imagine losing because you didn't play Seth Lugo on this slate.
Yeah.
And Rodon, just because of the price, is like so much more than Fetty and Paddock. on DK. I just don't know why we're doing it.
So you've got a top 5 and you're sticking to it.
Yep, that's all I'm doing.
Mix and match them.
And unless Cease could have a ceiling game that you have to win. Other than that, I just don't see this being, like you can't possibly win without this guy, with whoever you want to throw in there.
Okay. Did get some questions on FanDuel. We only get one pitcher there. I don't know what the pricing differences are, but are you just playing Cease because he's the guy who you said could have the ceiling game?
It's really easy to get to him. He's only 10-2. There's a lot of cheap bats. Yeah, play Cease for sure in cash on FanDuel, and I'm playing him in the vast majority of tournament lineups.
Okay. TKO says the best cash game pitcher pairing. You said it was Cease and Paddock, I believe.
Cease Paddock, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. I think you could play Cease Gilbert, and there's several good value bats, but I think Cease Paddock would be the way to go there.
Okay. And then DePrince says, can I go Paddock? I assume on FanDuel in tournaments, you can play any of those 5 guys.
Yeah, I've got some Paddock and some Fetty. And yeah, any of those guys I mentioned is playable.
Okay. And then last, before we get to some of the stacks, which people are asking about, Balance Unlimited says, why is nobody on my boy Berrios? It's just not as good as the top 5.
Yeah, he's a pretty good real life pitcher. He's not a pretty good DFS pitcher. And I like the Brewers are just a really good team. Like somehow the Brewers still seem to be underrated. It's just the reason I'm not on him is the same reason I'm not on Rodon. Like pretty good pitchers, but just they've got tough matchups and all these other guys have easy matchups. So that's just why.
Okay, easy enough. Let's talk about some of the stacks. Maryi Donizi says, can Cheese rank his favorite stacks? And he knows the flow of the show. That is what we do now. So let's run through some of your favorite bats and stacks.
I think the chalk, and certainly my favorite to score the most runs, is Minnesota. But strangely, I don't love any individual bats. Like if you say, well, who are your favorite Twins? I don't really have any, but I love all 9 of them. You know what I mean? It's like I'm stacking them a bunch, but I'm not, other than maybe some Royce Lewis, especially on FanDuel, like I'm not playing a lot of Twins outside of full stacks. And I don't really like them enough the way they're spread out against a pretty heavy ground ball pitcher. Like I say, I think they're the most likely to score the most runs, but I don't love them for DFS upside. Like I'm just they're just in my mix.
Okay.
The teams I prefer more, the Padres are my favorite. Brewers, Blue Jays, Astros. And I don't think there's anything sneaky about any of that, but that's enough stuff that it all gets kind of jumbled up and all mixed up. So it's all a bunch of 15% owned stacks.
Great.
So there you go.
Okay. Wonderful. Eric would like to let you know that the Twins are terrible.
Oh, thank you, Eric.
Yes, it's just Steve says any pinch hit risk concerns with the Twins. He actually asked you to rank them, but as there's 9 of them, that seems difficult. But maybe is there 1 or 2 that you're worried about?
Probably Kirilloff is the highest pinch hit risk. Theoretically, Larnach or Kepler, and that's how I'd rank them. I would say Kirilloff is probably the biggest pinch hit risk. And I don't think they're going to pinch hit for all of them. Basically, other than Kirilloff, I'm not personally thinking about it.
Okay. Good stuff. Let's go around the horn. I'm kind of looking at what we got here. Yeah. All right. We're doing good. Let's go around the horn, talk about your favorite players at your favorite positions. And that starts with catcher, Cheese.
And again, catcher is awesome. We did lose Danny Jansen, who's one of my favorite plays. But that gave us another cheap option too. So Contreras and Sal Perez are pricey, but great. I like these guys are just really great baseball players. And because I kind of like the cheap pitchers, I'm getting to a lot of them. I guess Christian Vasquez is like my least favorite Twin, but he's also the only like truly cheap catcher. So I do have some of him. Because 2,400 just playing for the Twins today is enough to make him a reasonable play. The other like mid-tier chase a home run guys like Raleigh and Shea Langelier are completely fine. But I like the kind of 3K range about as much with like Kirk and Patrick Bailey.
Okay. Before we go to first, did get a few stat questions that I want to get back to. Let's see. Someone said, King Mana says, how do you like San Diego? I believe they were in your top tier, right?
Yeah, I think he probably means that like he believes they're gutless. So how do you like them? That's how I was taking that to be.
I don't think so. I think he wants to know.
If it's a friendly question, I like them a lot, and they're essentially probably my favorite. Yeah,
I think how could you like those gutless Padres?
Imagine Kirk Dees. How did you like the gutless Padres?
How you like them apples?
Yes,
that may be what it is. Maybe he's from Boston. And then C. Goddard says, "Hey, is Colorado a good leverage stack off the Twins?" That doesn't make sense as it's used, right?
He means off of Paddock.
Oh, I see.
Because they're facing Paddock.
I see.
I do like the Rockies lefties. Like Paddock is a guy who gives up power to lefties. I have a fair amount of McMahon and Toglia and the cheap shortstop. They're viable. Yeah, they're very much in the mix.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. First base.
It's just not good. Like every day. Rhys Hoskins is my favorite play here and the guy I have the most of. I don't mind Vogelbach on DraftKings at 3K. Like on FanDuel, I'm playing catchers mostly, or the very cheap Spencer Horwitz, who is a second baseman.
What a change, by the way, that now on FanDuel, we're intentionally playing catchers. It was 2 or 3 years ago. That was a rarity, right?
Yeah, it's just all flipped. It's just really strange. Yeah. And today, even like the usual few guys we have, like we don't have the Dodgers, we don't have Matt Olson, we don't have a lot of this stuff. Yeah. So again, Spencer Horwitz for the Blue Jays is 2,100 on FanDuel. I like him better on DraftKings where he's a second baseman, but he's fine on FanDuel as well. It's such a bad position. I think you can fully punt it. Like you can play Abreu in your Houston stacks, or you could even play like Trenton Brooks or Tyler Soderstrom and just hope to get lucky. My lean would be Brooks, but Hoskins is the only guy I actually like.
Okay. We did get earlier that Dylan Moore was scratched, by the way. I don't know if you're aware of that, but just giving that little heads up.
Yeah. Thank you. That changes nothing, but thank you.
Okay. See, I don't know baseball well enough. Like I just see like someone I don't know is scratched. I'm like, am I supposed to say this? I have no idea.
He was batting ninth for the Mariners. So
had I known that, I would have not mentioned it.
Does not ruin my day.
Yeah. All right. All right. Second base.
Now second base is pretty good. I love Jake Cronenworth and I love Davis Schneider. On DraftKings, I love Spencer Horwitz for that salary. I like Willie Castro on DraftKings, leading off from Minnesota. FanDuel, you can play Castro at like any position except for first base where we need him, but he's okay at second as well. Altuve is, I think I'm only playing Altuve in Astro stacks unless I'm just sitting on a bunch of money and I have nothing to do with it. He's fine. Gleyber Torres is also like fine, but I like Schneider and Cronenworth and Castro better.
Okay. Brandon says, now that Dylan Moore is scratched, can you start over from the beginning?
That's my favorite comment of the day by far. Thank you for making me feel great.
Yeah. A couple other people did say that was actually clutch. I had him in my lineup, so I'm glad it was mentioned.
I mean, if you were stacking Seattle, which is viable, he would have been in there.
Yeah. All right. Third base.
So Manny Machado is back, which adds to it was a decent position. I think on FanDuel, Royce Lewis is jumping out as too cheap. He's probably too expensive on DK. Realistically, you can still play him, but it's kind of a wonky price. I like Ryan McMahon a ton. Willie Castro on FanDuel. He plays Waldo Cabrera, more on DK as a cheap guy, or DJ LeMahieu with this weird Yankees lineup. Like they're still going to score runs, I think. Guys like Bregman and Michael Garcia are more in stack for me. I'm kind of torn on Vlad Guerrero. Like I think I have one or two outside of a Blue Jay stack. I don't know. He's supposed to be better than this.
Like home run wise, right? Is that the concern?
Yeah, he
all
just can't stop hitting ground balls.
Yeah.
And Colin Ray is much better against righties. He's not great, but he is better against righties. And like, just hit the ball in the air just once, and it'll go far. You'd be surprised.
Yeah. Let's see. Eric says, "Is it strange I don't like the Padres?" No, they're gutless. Nobody likes them. Yeah, everybody. For whatever reason, nobody likes the Padres.
Yeah. Despite all of the runs that they score, nobody likes them.
Yeah. Shortstop, what do we got? Bobby Witt. We like that guy. He's good. I know that.
Yes. Love Bobby Witt. It's not an easy matchup, but Rodon is, more or less average against righties. I think he's my favorite play on the slate with Judge not in the lineup. Yeah, Witt's my main spend up. And there's a huge
Bobby Witt. Is he where did this guy come from? Who is he? How is he good all of a sudden? He's 6'3". He's like Ohtani priced, and I barely know who this dude is. But again,
he was always supposed to be this good. But this did not come out of nowhere at all.
Okay.
Yeah, highly scouted prospect. Yeah.
How old is he?
He's young. His dad was played for the Angels back in the day, probably before your day. He's like 23 right now. Not his dad, Bobby, which
yeah, I figured as much. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, this is not surprising at all.
Yeah. Okay.
So huge drop off after him. On FanDuel, I think this is where I'm playing Willie Castro if I don't have Bobby Witt. On DK, I go like any of Adames, Bichette, Pena, Volpe, Correa, like that whole group. Ask her who she likes out of that group, Kevin. Volpe, Bichette, Adames, Pena, Correa. Just have her pick one, and that's who we'll go with.
She says she likes Diaper.
Done.
So
I lean towards Adames, but all those guys are very close. And then, so on DK, we got this Rockies rookie. I don't know how you pronounce the first name. I don't know if it's like the singer, Adele. But he actually has some talent. So I do like full punting with him. I don't even mind him in a Paddock lineup. He should be a guy who can hit for some average right away, and he's got some speed. So I'm good with that as a punt.
Okay. That brings us to the outfield. There's always quite a few plays there. So let's kind of go all the way from the top to the bottom.
Yeah, there are quite a few, but not as many as usual. Especially with both Judge and Stanton out, there's only a couple of really high-end guys. I think Tatis is the chalk. And then you have Soto, and then you have Alvarez in a kind of tough lefty-lefty. And then Yelich is priced up as well. I definitely like Tatis the best out of this group. I also like paying up for Soto. I don't really think everyone's just going to pivot from Judge down to Soto. I think people are just going to redo their lineups. And I still don't think he's like super popular because of his price. And, he's been out, maybe, but if he's playing, I'm assuming he can hit, and he's awesome at hitting. So Tatis and Soto are the guys I like spending up for. The mid-tier is pretty crowded. We got all the Twins outfielders. I like Varsho a very good bit. Davis Schneider, you can play in the outfield as well. Giants are viable, like Soler and Conforto. You could play Brent Rooker even in a Cease lineup. It's all sort of okay. But I don't just like massively love any of it. I think I would say Varsho is my favorite of those mid-tier guys. And then most of those mid-tier guys are actually like borderline cheap on FanDuel, so you don't really need the value hunt too much on FanDuel. But on DK, you might need some, where's my cheap list? Like some cheap Royals or a Yasser Badewski or a Jake Myers. It's all fine. Hunter Renfroe, I think, is my favorite of the cheap Royals. I think that's all I meant to mention out loud. There's always more outfielders than that, but that's my main pool.
Yeah. Well, certainly people can bring in their questions if there are other outfielders. But before we do that, Cheese, we want some bombs. You're good at this. You're good at picking some home run hitters. So give me a few names here. And by the way, I'll buy you some time to think about it. I'm scrolling up and looking for questions, and people are just shocked that I did not know of Bobby Witt Jr. I do not follow baseball at all. I have no idea who anyone is except like Ohtani. So, yeah, sorry, not my sport.
That's fine. Witt is like a right-handed Ohtani who doesn't pitch.
But that's not exciting.
Yeah.
Pitch, so yeah.
So basically, to say he's essentially the best hitter in the league, but he doesn't pitch.
Yeah, not exciting. Yeah,
I know. I agree.
Yeah.
So
I know. I know
Ohtani.
Judge. I know Ohtani. That's pretty much it. That's right.
And now you know Bobby Witt.
Yeah, now I know Bobby Witt. There you go.
And for some reason, you know Trey Caboget.
Well, you know the vegan Frenchman, the vegetarian Frenchman.
Okay, home runs. High end Fernando Tatis. Mid tier Rhys Hoskins, and cheap Hunter Renfroe.
Derek pointing out, I do know the big dumper. That's true. We do know the big dumper. It's another.
Do you know his name though?
No, just the big dumper.
But you know him. It counts.
It's
counts.
Cal. It's Big Cal. Yeah. All right. Let's see what we got here. FanDuel single entry. Your favorite stack, Cheese.
San Diego. Feel free to ask me how.
Let's see. Have you heard of Bryce Harper? No, that one not familiar with that one. Let's see. FanDuel Cash 3v3 Cheese. Larnack, Witt, J-Rod, or Tatis Machado and your Dong Alvarez.
That's interesting. As much as I want to get Witt in there, I like the other three guys enough. I think I'd go that way. Tatis Machado, Yordong.
Okay. NBA DFS says DK Cash, Cheese. You want Machado, LeMahieu, or Luis Abreu?
That's just how bad first base is that we're talking about LeMahieu or Abreu in cash. It's that bad.
Terrible? Isn't he terrible?
Yeah,
terrible?
But he's so terrible that he's down to like 2,400 on DraftKings, and he plays for Houston. So that's the trick of it. Like you're just punting first base and hoping you accidentally get a point out of it. And like he can walk and score a run or get a single with a guy on base. And with that, I actually lean that way, Luis Abreu.
Gotcha. Okay. What else do we have here? Eric says, how many A's are you playing out of 150 lineups? So if you had 150 lineups, and maybe you do, how many A's stacks would you have?
Probably 5 or 6. Let me think. I'm doing math in my head based on how many lineups I do have and how many A's I think I have. I don't know, 10.
Okay. All right. A small, a smattering.
Like, yeah, it's like, it's very unlikely. But they do actually have like several guys who could hit 2 home runs apiece. Like it's that kind of team, like Rooker, Blade, Langelier. Like those guys could hit 5 home runs between the three of them. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Okay. We'll go to We Major 72, who says your favorite pitching options in the FanDuel tournament. You mentioned 3 that I can think of. First and foremost, just getting the best dude because everything's kind of cheap there.
Yeah, like it's so easy. Like I would just rather play Cease and then just do something funny with your bats. And Fetty is my second favorite.
Okay. Ruthless Villain says Dubon or Renfroe, last piece.
Give me Renfroe.
Jeff says 2 questions, Roth. First, FanDuel GPP lineups. I want 3 different pitchers. Oh, did we just kind of do that?
3 different pitchers: Cease, Fetty, Gilbert.
Okay. And then Jeff says, what was the name of the cheap rookie with speed that Cheese mentioned earlier?
It's Amador for the Rockies. His first name is not spelled like the singer Adele. It's Adael.
Okay.
I've never heard anyone say his name yet, but he has low strikeouts and high walks in the minors, and he's got speed. So totally viable punt.
Okay. Mitchell Mayo pointing out another player that I know, Lars Nootbaar, obviously. Yeah, I forgot that one. Yeah, he's I think he's top 5 in MLB. if I'm not mistaken, no matter what metric you look at.
Sure.
Andrew says, Cheese, if you're playing the Astros, who would be the 3 to start your stack with? Jordan?
I would go. It's actually not Altuve and Bregman. Like, partly because that's every Astro stack is going to be Altuve and Bregman. And so I would say Pena and Myers, and then you've got a little extra salary. Like, the way you make your Houston stack different is to spend up on somebody other than Altuve or Bregman at those positions. And then you've got the Houston stack. Like, realistically, if Houston scores a bunch of runs, it's kind of all throughout the lineup with everybody making contact, a bunch of doubles. And so, yeah, give me Alvarez, Pena, and Myers.
Okay, very good. FanDuel Cash, coming to the Discord in just a second, by the way, but this question from Achilles. FanDuel Cash, Schneider, Cronenworth. Hang on, this is kind of a weird... Yeah, Schneider or Cronenworth, Castro or Bichette. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. FanDuel Cash. I like Cronenworth Castro.
Okay. I'm not even sure.
I think that fits as an answer to how that was worded.
Okay. Let's see what else we've got here. Jumping back into the RG Discord. FanDuel GPP Cheese. You want Cease, Howitz, or Paddock and Judge or Witt?
I want Paddock and Witt.
Okay. Chinatown says DK Cash Cheese, SP, Cease, and Paddock without a second thought. There's a second thought.
Yeah, there's a second thought, but that's still the answer.
Yeah.
I would not argue with Cease Gilbert or Cease Fetty. But yeah, really, it's Cease Paddock.
Okay. Jay says FanDuel single entry last piece, J-Rod, Verdugo, or Ramos of San Francisco. Thank you.
I really want to think harder about that. I actually need to look up a number there. Because I want to say Verdugo. It seems weird. I'm going to go Verdugo.
Okay. Where do we go? Abreu was so bad when he actually hit a home run the other night. They flashed his name as Brian Abreu.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Brian Abreu is a relief pitcher who's actually good. So yeah, Abreu has 2 home runs this season. So let's not pretend like it never happens.
Yeah.
2.
Ooh, that's a lot. To be
It's 2
fair, he
more
has
than you
missed
have.
half the season because he was not on the team trying to learn how to hit the ball, even though he's 38 years old or something.
Yes. But he's also batting a robust 132. So that's not bad. That's triple digits.
Good Lord. What else do we have? I think I got that one. 2v2, Tatis Profar or McMahon and Soto?
Ooh. Man. As much as I do love Tatis and Profar, like go McMahon Soto. Like that's a pretty great looking combo.
Okay, let's get this question from Devin Bates, who just has a glorious profile picture. He just looks like a stand-up guy. In the util for FanDuel Cash, Correa or Machado?
I really like Machado, but I think Correa getting another middle of the order twin is probably the way to go in cash.
Okay. Where was I here? Oh, by the way, we got like 2-3 minutes here until lock, so make sure you get those lineups in. Eric says, White Sox, do they give Fetty any support? Luis Robert Homer.
I mean, they probably don't give him any support. But like Luis Robert is always a viable play. Like he just swings as hard as he can swing, and he can swing hard. Yeah. So yeah, I don't mind throwing Robert in the MLB mix.
Okay. Stephen would like to remind you that whoever we were just making fun of has 6 career 100 RBI seasons, so he's good. Was good. I think that means he was good.
He was amazing.
I don't think that's relevant.
Right.
In the context of this conversation, I don't think that.
The guy used to be fantastic.
Yeah.
So did I. I mean, a lot of people used to be fantastic.
Would you use Myers as a one-off or only in a stack? This late show, a lot of babies coming in this late show. Got a lot of that.
It is late.
Yeah.
I think Myers is viable on DK at his salary. He's viable on his own.
Okay, very good. DK cash question. It is a 3v3 from Achilles. Vasquez Abreu Soto or Bailey Oswaldo Schneider?
I guess the side with Soto. It gives you another Abreu. It's just so weird to say, but like he's $2,400, and if he gets a single, he probably gets 2 RBIs, which more than pays it off.
Castro or Profar on DK, and which 2 Astros will go off tonight? That's 2 questions in one, so I can mute for an extended time.
Okay. I like Castro and Cash. I like Profar a little better in tournaments. Which 2 Astros will go off tonight? I would say that would be Jake Myers. And how about the random Victor Caratini?
Ooh, I like it.
That's a little too far. Chas McCormick.
Okay.
Chas McCormick.
Okay. Amateur, we got less than a minute until lock. DK, GPP in a twin stack straight up. Kirilloff or Santana?
Santana.
And she's on FanDuel. Would you prioritize spending up for pitching over hitting? I think the answer was kind of yes. And do you think one of Paddock or Fetty will be more owned than Gilbert?
I think they will both be more owned than Gilbert. And the thing about spending up for pitching, it's not an either or. You can spend up for Cease and spend up on – like you can play Cease, and Witt, and Soto and still have a lineup that's okay. So play Cease. But sure, I have some Fetty and Paddock. They're fine.
Okay. And we get one last question. My guy Paul always comes in clutch with a great question to end the show. We've hit the lock. Your favorite type of pasta? He says, for me, angel hair or rigatoni. Yeah.
I like the little bow ties. I like the little bow tie pasta.
Well, I think they're called farfellis.
Thank you. I couldn't. I was about to look it up because I couldn't think of it. Yes, I think that would be my favorite.
I think rigatoni is pretty high on my list. I don't really love the spirals. Little bow ties are fantastic. I think little bow ties might be my answer as well. Geez, I think we're bow tie people here. I think that's the answer. Bow tie pasta.
Next time I come to Texas, we're going out for bow tie pasta.
get some bow tie pasta. All right, we're gonna one more question for Roth. How about those Mavs? Just brutal. It was just last night. It was so bad to watch the Celtics play their worst and to just still get your ass handed to you was just really, really tough. Really did not enjoy it. All right. On that note, we're going to bounce on out of here. Cheese, excellent hanging out with you. Just a little solo. I enjoyed it, man. You as well. Always a pleasure. Yeah. Okay. We'll run it back sometime, probably with another host once people get their internet figured out. So for Cheese, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, for Bobby Witt Jr., guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.